What's going on, guys? Wade here. We are out on another project today to work on some tablet stones. We've got Stephen here and Elizabeth over here. We can see here that this is fractured, and it looks like somebody tried to repair it because there's concrete here, but it fractured really down low. So we're gonna have to cut this to trim it up, regardless of whether we find a keyway or not. Pretty dry ground right now. It's hard ground. Okay, so with both of them out of the ground, we know that we're gonna have to cut this one. This one doesn't necessarily have to be trimmed, but we do need to bond that. And now we're gonna hunt for some keyways with our probe. You can see that the headstone was laying here, but I brought my shovel back here because I don't wanna touch the headstone with my shovel and scratch it. So you come back a little bit and use the soil to pat it. That way you're not ever gonna scratch the headstone. I found it the first try. It's right there. So we'll excavate around here. How about this one? Same thing right there. And this is going to be the big question. Is there anything under here that's salvageable, or do we have to pour concrete? It looks good. It just broke off, which is great. And right here is where it fractured. Oh, interesting. It's like brick or something. Maybe they used brick around it to stabilize it. I can't imagine it's all brick. A lot of times the brick that I find is something that's just used as sort of rubble around the foundation. That's regional. That's just something I see around here a little bit. I know in other places it's used as the foundation in totality. This is just a block of concrete. I hope you can see this, but that's where it broke. I like using original stone if I can, as opposed to casting something. So even though this is all messy in its shape. All right, we're back out in the cemetery again. We're gonna get this base pulled out, and then I've got some fill material to try and get this all leveled out, but we're gonna get the holes square, get this base out, and then we'll see where we go. It's kind of late in the day, so I'm not sure we're gonna get a whole lot done, but we'll get a little bit. So historically, these would have been just under the ground. It's a pretty rough side to it, so it's not gonna be elegant getting it in, but it's right about 6 inches. And this one over here, we're at 9. So we're gonna go down just far enough so that we can get that buried below the surface. Same on the other side. So you've made it this far in the video and you're wondering, who is this? This is Elizabeth Lloyd Pollard and her adult son, Stephen. And I ended up out here because they're the ancestors of one of my followers, Sally, and she asked if I could come out and take a look at these and see if there's anything that we could do to save them. And as you see, we found the bases, we found the keyways, and they were fractured, and you could tell that they had really been laying there a long time. And so I was excited to get them back up and standing again. Now, I wanted to do some more research and find out who Elizabeth was, and I found out that she was born October 3rd, 1801 in Shelby County, Kentucky. And in talking with Sally and checking out a lot of other family trees that were built online, folks seem to believe that her parents were Henry Pollard and Ann Ashby, but there's no documents that I could find that identify her parents. But there were some land records that showed that Henry was very highly likely Elizabeth's father, but the twist here is that Elizabeth's mother was likely a previous wife to Henry's, as Henry and Anne did not marry until 1810. It's level all the way around. We need a lot more material, so we'll pack up and we'll come back. Back out in the cemetery on another day. We're on the third day now on this. We're doing little incremental steps because I'm doing this here in the evening and it's hot. It's like 95 degrees today and I need to keep getting gravel to bring out. So we've got this foundation set in place. We need to move the stone over and get that leveled, get it set in place. The bottom is super uneven, so we're gonna have to fine tune that. And then this hasn't been worked on yet. It's been excavated to depth, but I need to tamp this down solid. So let's work on this one first and get that one in and level. So this is a super uneven surface, and so I'm only getting a rough estimate as to where I might be level or auto level here, but roughly speaking, we're right on. I'm just gonna kind of average this. If anything, maybe the front needs to come up just a smidge. That's right on. Yeah, it's just too rough to actually get a good measurement, but that looks fair. So we're gonna eyeball it to make sure we're even within the row. And that looks good too. So what I'm doing here is I'm just sighting down the row to make sure that if we were to line all these other headstones up that have fallen over and fractured, that these would line up nicely. Maybe just comes back a little bit. She's got to come back a fair bit more. All right, before I finish fine tuning that, we're going to take care of this one over here and get that in place, and then we can work on those together. Perfect. Now you just heard me say perfect, but not perfect. I wasn't even thinking the heat was getting to me here, and I set this too low by a fair bit. And so you're gonna see me set this in and call it a night, okay, but you know what? I'm gonna come out the next day and I'm gonna raise it up a bunch of inches because this needs to be out of the ground. This isn't supposed to be buried, and you know, whatever I'm thinking, I don't know. It was hot. I'm just adding water to this to help with the compaction. Trying to get the fines pushed down a little bit since I can't tamp on this directly. I just want to make sure that we don't have any voids that I'm going to be missing out on if I have some low spots. I'd rather catch that now and fill them up. I think it looks excellent. So you can see what I'm going for here. As I lay the bar across, you can see that I'm directly in alignment with the keyway here and matched up with that one over there. So we're in a really good spot there. The height, the elevation is perfect. So let's get some gravel around this and fill it in. This is just water. I'm gonna pour some around the sides here, try and get this pushed down. Hopefully it's cooler, but tomorrow what we're gonna work on is cleaning out this keyway. So right now it's full of mud and there's a piece right there. So we've got to take that out, clean it up, clean the surface up. Got to cut this square, and the same thing over here. We need to remove this that's stuck in there. So you can see some roots in there. It's going to be a bit of a process, but that's what we'll do tomorrow. So dry out here. I just kind of wanted to save a little bit of the sod, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
So as we look at Elizabeth's story a little bit further, she married John Stevens in 1820 in Harrison County, Indiana, which is also where most of their 8 children were born, including Stephen, who's the other stone that you see here. In November 1840, John and Elizabeth, as well as their son William, each purchased 40 acres of land in Park County, Indiana. Their properties were situated close together and located several miles southeast of Mansfield. The Land Act of 1820 is how these lands were purchased, and they required full payment at the time, and it was $1.25 an acre, reduced from $2 in.
So interestingly, it loses a ½ inch top to bottom here. So now that we got these headstones about halfway up, let's talk about where this family ended up in the middle to later part of their lives. They purchased land in 1853 in Polk County, Iowa. And in an obituary of their son, they said that the family migrated from Indiana with a team of oxen to Polk County, Iowa in 1855. The distance was more than 400 miles, and they settled west of Valley Junction on the outskirts of Des Moines. The town was established as Walnut Township in 1860. By 1856, John and Elizabeth owned 140 acres of land where they farmed hay, wheat, corn, potatoes, and manufactured butter. 6 years before their deaths, John was still farming his Walnut Township land. this is my marble infill. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you guys.